what I'd like to do is welcome Chris Hanlon to our first ever In Conversation With. This is our little podcast lockdown special where we're going to chat to people in the industry, people who work with LS Theatre Productions and people who just love the arts. So welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks for being our first guest. So this is all new to us. Let's see how this goes down and if we can make this work. But first of all, just tell us who you are and your involvement with LS Theatre Productions.
Yeah, so my name is Chris Hanlon. I'm a performer, but I'm also a lighting designer and operator. I run my own theatrical lighting business. And I first got involved with LS back in 2017 when I was asked to audition for the Wizard of Oz. I was very lucky and very humbled to have played the Scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz, and that was the start of my LS journey.
And you're with us still?
I'm with you still, yeah.
Indeed you are, and you're very much part of the creative team as well as bringing your talents on stage, but you also provide a lot of the technical support off stage, which is vital to us getting our shows on and making our shows look as amazing as possible.
I love being part of that creative process. For me, I love performing, but I also love doing the technical side of things. And I think having someone that can visualize a production from both the sort of performing or actor's perspective, but also the technical perspective, I think I offer something a little bit unique there. And it's something I enjoy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's good for us to work with someone who can understand our vision and concepts and bring that to life visually with the lights and the effects and that. So we love having you on board. So just a few questions we've got here. Just want to have a chat really about when you first got into the world of entertainment and whatever avenue that was when you first got in. If you can tell us a little bit about how you got involved.
Yeah, so from an early age, I'd wanted to perform. And actually, my first avenue into performing was Irish dancing. I was part of a small Irish dancing troupe based in Sheffield. And unfortunately, that stopped. The company that I went to lost their venue, and that stopped. And I was with them for about 3 or 4 years, and I did competitions, and we used to do St. Patrick's Day in a big marquee in Sheffield and stuff like that. And it was a really interesting experience. But alongside that, I was also, doing school plays and stuff like that. And people said, you should take this further. You're good.
And that's how you got in?
That's how I got in.
Well, we never knew that. I never knew that you were an Irish dancer. You kept that quiet.
Yeah, if you asked me to do it now, I wouldn't be able to do it. But yeah, I used to love the heavy jig more than anything, because we had these big solid tap shoes, a bit like tap shoes, but they're wooden clogs pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I never knew that. So that was your first sort of foray into the world of entertainment then?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Is that what you caught the bug?
Yeah. Probably the weirdest place I performed was Conisbrough Castle while it was chucking it down with rain.
Wow. Now there's a claim to fame. So obviously, I know you really well, but obviously any listeners won't know. But just tell us as well a little bit about what or who inspires you within the entertainment industry. And that could be anything from an actor, musician, musical theatre performer, writer.
I mean, obviously musical theatre is my main passion. I've got a long-standing sort of history with musical theatre. Performing for over 16 years now. But my main sort of inspiration, if you like, growing up was Andrew Lloyd Webber. Obviously, he's written some absolutely phenomenal musicals. But just his passion for writing theatre and also putting it on its feet and working with like Cameron McIntosh and people like that to create these big productions inspired me, and it's sort of what got me involved. Joseph was the first big musical that I went to see.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who was the Joseph at the time?
I want to say Phil Schofield.
Oh, the Scholes.
Yeah, Schofield. Yeah.
Wow.
I just remember being absolutely blown away with this production, and obviously since then, I've seen a lot bigger and better productions. Not to say that Joseph is not a big and great production, but there is so much theatre out there. In terms of performers that inspire me, I absolutely love Ramin Karimloo, or Ramin Karimloo. He's played the Phantom. He's played Jean Valjean. He's an American Iranian actor, and he's just got the most phenomenal voice. In fact, Sam Lewis, who performs with LS, his voice very much reminds me of Ramin Karimloo because there's just no sort of end to that voice.
I think Sam will take that a huge compliment.
You can just go for it. Do you know what I mean? And you just think, well, he's reached his limit there, and then he just goes to that next level, and it's like, wow. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to pronounce his name. I left that to you. But I think I'd have made him sound like some super noodles or something. But so you did mention a couple of the big gun producers there, writers of musical theatre. Again, all their shows are really epic and massive. But is there any particular musical of theirs or anyone else's that you would love to be involved in?
Phantom of the Opera. My ultimate theatre dream would be to play the Phantom, but it's probably never going to happen. Stranger things have happened, I guess, but yeah, just particularly the role of the Phantom is such a huge role, but he's also got some amazing songs. Actually, the sequel to Phantom, Love Never Dies, a lot of people have sort of written it off, but I really like it. And there's a song in that, again, going back to Ramin Karimloo, Till I Hear You Sing. It's such a beautiful song, and it's just something that at some point I want to have a go at. Other roles, obviously, the big ones, Jean Valjean, or Javert in Les Mis, Chris or John in Miss Saigon, or the engineer. Actually, the engineer is a phenomenal part.
Yeah, that's a big list of incredible roles there.
Yeah, I'm clutching at straws there because there's no chance that them productions will ever be released amateur.
You say that, but you never know. That's the thing with theatre. You just never know what's around the corner and what could happen next. So who knows?
I'd like to think at some point Phantom is available for the amateur world, because I think Phantom and Les Mis, I think there's some really big companies out there like LS that could do a great job of it, that have got some phenomenal performers that just want the opportunity to say, look, this is how we do a show.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's so much talent in I hate using this word, but amateur theatre, but there's so much talent out there that you don't have to be a West End performer. There's regional actors and actors in small towns who can do equally as well as some of these big West End names.
I think what a lot of people forget is that because we come with a stigma that is amateur theatre, that, you know, people really are sort of basic. That's not the case at all. You look at every performer in LS are experienced. You know what I mean? You've got phenomenal singers, you've got phenomenal dancers, you've got people that have performed around the world internationally, that for whatever reason, life has brought them back to Barnsley and the local area. And to have the opportunity to do these big shows with LS, obviously lockdown at the moment, things have sort of stifled a little bit. But, you know, look at the shows that the LS have got lined up in the future with 9 to 5 and in Kinky Boots, and you look at the performers that are involved in that, it's mind-blowing the amount of talent that's there. And I think, unfortunately, amateur theatre will always have that stigma because it's seen as, you know, basic, and it's seen as, you know, village hall sort of thing. That's not the case. There's a lot of talented, not just performers, but also, you know, producers, directors, lighting designers, set designers that work within the amateur industry, that if they were given that chance to go and work professionally, you wouldn't see a difference between what's on the professional stage and what's on the amateur stage. If you get what I mean.
Agree. I totally agree. I think you're right. The stigma, it's the days of the church or wobbly set and the backdrop that's rippling as someone walks behind it. That's the visual that everyone has of amateur theatre, but it's so much more than that now, so much bigger.
But it's also, I think amateur theatre's a hotbed of being able to be a bit more creative without having the big budgets. I think, you know, you look at the venue that LS perform in the Lamproom Theatre, obviously you haven't got the space there to have these huge sets. It's about being creative. It's about thinking outside the box. And actually, I think some of the people that work in amateur theatre, director-wise, producer-wise, set designer-wise, like I say, I think they're actually a little bit better because they have to think outside the box. They have to think about how to make it work in a smaller venue.
No, I think you're right. I think you've got to be, and I do think that's where more professional theatre will go now, due to budgets and things. I think the big grand sort of musicals of the heyday, where the sets were huge and that, and the orchestra was massive, I think that's going to be slimmed down a lot, and people are going to now start, certainly producers, thinking outside the box, making things cheaper to tour, to put
absolutely.
on. And to me, it's not always as lovely as it is to see a wonderful set. It's not always about that. If the talent's there, the talent will sell the show. I never come away from a show and go, that was a lovely backdrop, or wow, that balcony looked nice. I always remember the song or the dance or the performance. But just you answered one of my questions that I didn't get to about your dream role. You mentioned quite a few there, but if you have a career bucket list, tell me what one job is still on that list that you want to do or achieve, and that can be anything from performing or from lighting or from writing or...
Yeah, obviously I mentioned in terms of performing, I want to play the Phantom. That's on my bucket list. But in terms of sort of lighting design, I want to design the lighting for a big scale musical in the West End, just to say I've done it. And I know, because I'm a determined person, I will get there. And if I don't, then I will continue happily designing lighting for LS and other companies. And for me, it's about enjoying it. Do I enjoy the job that I do? Yes, I do. Do I go to work with a smile on my face? Yes, I do. And for me, that's what is important.
I think that's what we've discussed before as well, obviously not in this podcast, but we've said before, you should just enjoy the process, and whatever you bring to that process, you bring the best of your ability, and together, it all comes together in a big cooking pot, and then that's the end result of this wonderful piece of theatre. I think everyone's important. And
the joys of doing the job that I do, I've worked in many different venues and everyone has a different way of working. And I just think to myself, I've come across some people that just look like they don't want to be there. And I'm like, you're doing a creative job. You're being paid to do what you enjoy. If you don't go to work with a smile on the face, then what's the point of doing it?
Yeah, there's no point. It's theatre entertainment, and at its basic form, it's just dressing up. It's just fun. That's all it is. You're getting together with a group of like-minded people, you're putting on some silly costumes, and you're making some noise. And that's what theatre is. And how wonderful is that, again, we get to do that. I think sometimes...
I also think from the audience perspective, I think, we get to go and put a smile on people's face. We get to go and entertain people. And who wouldn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to create that buzz and have that impact on, however small, on somebody's life? The fact that they're going away happy, or walking out the theatre singing the songs from a show, or writing a review after the show saying how much they enjoyed it. Why wouldn't you want to be part of that? Why wouldn't you get out of bed and think, that's what I'm going to do today?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So obviously things have ground to a halt in our industry due to COVID-19 and this pandemic, but what are your thoughts and feelings about the role the arts are currently playing in society, or not playing in society at the moment?
Well, I just think it's absolutely tragic the way sort of the theatre and the arts have ground to a halt. I think as a theatre company and as creatives and as performers and as technical crew, I think we're working hard behind the scenes to say, look, we're still here. We will be back. But I think we can all do more to sort of say, to the government or to whoever, that we'll not be pushed away. We're not just going to disappear altogether. And when we get that permission to go ahead and open up fully, we are going to come back bigger and better than ever before. I mean, there's thousands of people that are out of work at the moment that deserve to be given that opportunity to stand on that stage or work backstage and do the job that they love to do. And for that to just completely stop is just absolutely tragic.
I do think it's an industry that's quite sometimes sort of forgotten about or seen as being a bit like away with the fairies or a bit frivolous and that. But the arts are so important to keeping people entertained, keeping people happy, keeping their minds healthy and engaged, and giving people escapism. I think I just worry sometimes that people look at us as artists and think, meh, it's just a bit of fun, just playing. But there's so
At the
much
end of
more
the
to
day,
it.
at the end of the day, it's about people's mental health more than anything. And that, like you say, it's a bit of escapism to get away from the humdrum of the 9 to 5 to oh, I'm going to the theatre tonight. Oh, I can't wait to go and watch that. Or do you know what? That left me absolutely touched. I can't believe what I've just been to see. We haven't got that at the moment. And you know, I just think the industry is going to be so determined when they get the go ahead to get back. They're going to be so determined to push forward, and I think theatre will bounce back. I think there's so many determined people out there. Nobody's going to let it just die.
It's
There's
too
going to
much
be a bit.
part of our heritage, though, isn't it, and our culture? It won't become extinct. It just can't.
No, and we won't let it. You know, we will get back to being bigger than and better than ever before. And I think us as creators, I think we're more determined than ever. I think it's frustrating that we're having things pulled from us. It's a difficult situation. I get that there's a lot of people being affected by it, whether it's deaths in the family or being hospitalised or being out of work at the moment. But, you know, as a country, we've got to pull together and we've got to think positively. And certainly as a creative industry, we've got to say, look, yeah, we're being stifled at the moment, but when we come back, we do it bigger and better than ever before, and we enjoy it. And we'll go back to having a smile in our face. We enjoy rehearsals. We work hard, and we put on these productions that we've been longing to do for a long time. And I'm just so thankful that, obviously, LS have managed in the height of the pandemic to do a couple of big productions, and however small amount of audience members that were in watching them productions, they left with a smile on their face, and I'm just so thankful to have been a part of that.
Yeah, we were lucky to manage to squeeze in a few pieces of theatre before this sort of second lockdown, but we did realise that I guess the normal way of producing a show now is gone. It's going to be a new normal way of producing, and there were so many restrictions and guidelines in place, but we stepped up and we ticked them boxes, and we managed to get theatre back to the audiences, and as you mentioned before, they were so well received. But there's no feeling like live theatre. It's visceral, it's raw, you can't create that by watching Netflix or a film in the cinema. I just think it's so unique.
You can't. I mean, you look at some of the live streaming videos that went out during the first lockdown. Great of Andrew Lloyd Webber to put these weekly productions on YouTube and things like that. And you enjoy it. Of course you enjoy it, but you just don't get that buzz of, you know, being sat in the audience and when the orchestra strikes up and it surrounds you and it's big and it's brash. You just don't get that, do you?
No. Roll on the days when we can sort of raise the curtain again and get back into theatres, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was reading an article and it did say after the Great Plague many years ago came the Renaissance period, which was a time of great celebration and the arts flourished. So let's hope after this Great Plague that we get a new Renaissance. And but I do think we both know the feeling of performing or being backstage and you can hear the audience and that buzz of last night and the final bow. That feeling's incredible, but we've never experienced it after something like this. So imagine what it will be like when we do it again, and then
exactly,
it'll just be multiplied. It'll be like tenfold that feeling. I think it would be such an emotional time for everyone to be.
It will be, and whether that be a one nighter or a full run of a week of a musical, it's having that buzz, and it's standing there thinking at the end of the week, have we done everything we could have to make this production as big and as strong as it could be? And I think we'll stand there, whether that be in December or March or whatever, we'll stand there at the end of the week and go, yeah, we were great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it can only get better, surely.
And it will.
It will. And I think there's, like you said, there's too many artists out there to sit down and not fight for. our industry and everything that we love about the entertainment industry.
No, absolutely.
Just before we finish, one more question. If you could tell your younger performing self anything, any words of advice or moral guidance, what would you say to your younger performing self?
I'd say take more opportunities. Don't let life hold you back.
Yeah.
You know, go out and experience more things. And I'm just so thankful that I agreed to audition for The Wizard of Oz back in 2017, because if I hadn't done, I would never have met some of the people that I've met over the last 3 years, and I would never have, met my future fiance. I would never have met some of the friends that I've got. I would never have worked with yourself and Rich on productions. So I'm just so thankful that I did.
No, we're really glad that you joined and did come along, because you have become a massive asset to LS, and like I said before, part of the creative team. But yeah, it's strange, and it could be so easy not to walk through that door, but when you do, it changes your life and opens up different paths, and you meet different people.
No, it really does. It really does.
As you mentioned, you just also gained a fiance from it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a story in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Tell us that story.
That's how life happens.
Yeah, go on. Tell the listeners the story in brief. How did you meet your future wife?
So I met Georgie performing in Grease the Musical back in, was that 2018?
We've been going 12 years or less now, and I am terrible at remembering what day, what shows were. I need I need a book with all the dates in.
I met her in 2018, and actually during the show, we didn't actually talk all that much, just because the show was so fast paced, and although we were playing opposite each other, we didn't really know each other. But it was after the show had finished, and we sort of got talking, and that's how our relationship started. And looking back 2 years now, we've been engaged nearly a year. We live together, and we just wake up with a smile on our face every day. And that's the power of what theatre can do. That's the power of LS Theatre Productions and the friendship groups that are there, and the strong sort of relationships that people have. And when they're performing together, they're doing it for each other. There's no egos. Egos are left at the door at the end of the day. It's about coming together as one.
Yeah, 100%.
That's how it started. Yeah.
There you go then. Every interview has a nice little story like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to get Georgie on and tell us her side of the story.
Yeah, her story will be a little bit different, I'm sure.
We'll see. We'll find out some gossip.
I look at everything with a dreamy eyes sort of perspective.
Hey, there's not wrong with that. The world's a dreary place at the minute, so I think as long as we try and keep positive and keep a smile on his faces, then that's the only way through it for us artists.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll keep plugging away. Well, Chris, thank you for being our guinea pig for our first ever In Conversation With.
No, that's fine. Thank you for having me. I've loved it.
No worries. And that was Chris Hanlon, who is part of the creative team and one of our performers at LS Theatre Productions. So we'll say from our side to your side, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
We'll end it there.